We'll get the dog in the background, but it will. And he's fine. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this impromptu episode of The Lifting, entitled, at least I called it, The Riddle of the Wheel, the Mighty Hamster Wheel, Part 1. Some of you have wanted to touch on this particular subject. It is very massive, so we are doing it in this way, parting this out. And I probably said that in the script, but I'll probably say it again here in a second. Today we'll touch on the concept known as the hamster wheel effect and some of the impact that it has not only had on us personally, but what other people have reported to us as well. This is a fairly large topic that has affected many, many people, so it needs to be split. But since we ourselves have not completely solved the riddle of the wheel, as I call it, or the mighty hamster wheel, mighty in quotes, we haven't solved it just yet. We will just report to you in parted episodes such as this as we gather more information and possible solutions to this long-standing problem in our society. But first, an affirmation or blessing. Okay. To the targeted, the wheel of nothing and series of unfortunate events shall not break you, though its design is of that purpose. Step outside of it as you begin to notice its effects. Do you let it break you, turn you against your fellow man in a wave of fury and psychotic rage, or do your emotions die altogether? Even so, you are above these things and can hold the dark night of the wheel at bay. Believe not the superior speak of the wheel, for its might was never real, only in writ created by the hand of ancient nothings. So we will move on. I have a series of bullet points on this script, so bear with us, folks. Since she's blind as a bat, we can't see these. So
no, I can see distance. Great.
Okay, but this is close up. So
I'm in the middle of getting cataracts done, so my vision is a little bit wonky at the moment.
So I'll be reading. I'll read the list of these so she can comment on these. Okay, already did the intro. Okay, one of the biggest things that is actually going on right now is something called voice to skull technology. And that is a mixture of artificial intelligence that cycles and constantly puts those thoughts in your head. Social media also has this capability, but also gets people to have program dropped in them to behave in a specific way at a specific time, either to accost you in some fashion or to get you to fight, get you to screw up in some fashion in society. Some people call it V2K, VTS, and it has a variety of different methods of delivery, some of which are actually little mechanical robots that actually move about in neighborhoods, either flying in the air. They look like drones with a little like circular like cookie cutter indent in the center that refuel around power substations and transformers. And there's another one that looks you would almost see it as like a little triangular tank that can move around. Those are rarer. I don't see those that often. I saw a couple in Nebraska when I was there that were kind of rolling along the landscape and into apartments and such, but trying to scan people and trying to find the frequency in which they could, that rhythm could get to them. And that also goes to, it mixes with the next bullet point that I have. There was a music video put out a few years ago called Chained to the Rhythm by Katy Perry. And that characterized this hamster wheel. In fact, they even put the hamster wheel in the video itself. They showed her in the hamster wheel quite nicely. Whereas where she says you think you're free and you're constantly going through the motions and you're really not getting anything in life accomplished. And I always found that interesting, where the next line she says, the next drink's on me, meaning it also causes addictions as well. That's what that was kind of nodding towards, in my opinion. And what has gone on actually quite recently with this, and this goes with some of the other bullet points I have here. I kind of just jotted these down as I went. The first one was voice to skull. Next one I put change to the rhythm.
So if I can add a little bit here, if you're okay with me going in at this point, if when we're back up at the what I would call the intro part of this, I think what I would like to do is kind of say what a hamster wheel isn't. So because it can be quite confusing, and I think in life in general, when am I on a hamster wheel? When am I not on a hamster wheel? Kind of thing, or is that occurring to me in this lifetime, or is it not occurring to me? So, we've been, obviously we've been on talking about all of these things for people that have followed us for, 5+ years now. And again, we've always said that, you have different types of energies floating around, and that we've had kind of a dualistic system that we've been in, which is often described as right or wrong, black and white. Right. And, so these kinds of systems are going on is a part of all of our experience. Now, you are a soul and you do come in to have an experience in the world of how it all works nicely, let's say, then you will choose, the experiences you wish to have. And it's all for the ultimate growth of the soul to understand everything. So in a world of duality, you're going to experience all of the both sides and all the prisms within each side to understand something completely. It's not enough to have book knowledge. It is way more meaningful to also have the experience of. So when souls come in, they're going to have the experience of, and normally you're going to experience absolutely everything. So without a doubt, the concept of a hamster wheel life, sure, people can come in with the true intention to have a hamster wheel life effect. That's not what we're talking about. And we're not talking about, a lifetime where you are meant to maybe see the other side of a coin that you experienced earlier on in a lifetime, where maybe earlier on you were, a little bit of a shyster, and then you're going to experience in this life what it's like to be a victim of a shyster, and you may experience it several times, which it could feel like a hamster wheel at that moment. So this is not what we're talking about.
No, this is the portion we're not talking about. That's we've kind of beat that dead horse for a while. So we're going on to the other portion.
Right. So what I like to call that is, I've called it for years, is the wash, rinse, and repeat cycle, where, and for us, we've been pondering, does the soul even between lifetimes get to do a proper review to see that they don't need the experience anymore? Or is there even a trick that's going on them with some people that then they tumble back into the same thing over and over and over again?
Visiting old patterns and visiting old ways of doing things.
Right. And in that point, there certainly is a force that would like to see that continuing to happen to people. It kind of stunts spirituality when you're constantly on a hamster wheel of experiencing things over and over again. And so this is more of what we're talking about. And we're also talking about it in the context of what we say is overage. Meaning, a thumb that doesn't ever give up. It doesn't ever want to stop you from suppressing you. And so there is balance to have the totality of all the experiences. And then our humble opinions are that there is something referred to as overage, where these cycles continue, again, suppressing your spiritual growth. And really, it's done in many different ways for many different reasons, and we're going to cover some of these things. But I just want to make clear that this is what we're actually speaking about.
Yes, for myself, in more recent days, it's been more or less almost like a pounding of waves that have come at me to try to keep me in a cycle of depression and more like madness. It's not like a temperamental madness. It's more like a you're going insane madness. That has been going with me in recent days. But for a vast amount of people, it's this hamster wheel effect. or this particular effect, even though I can feel it on me without even speaking about this. This was a subject that these other people did not want spoken about. This is why it needs to be done. Just remember that, folks. In life, when you try to accomplish certain things, it can feel like you're walking through mud. Sometimes that requires a revocation of some kind. But I've also noticed, again, in recent days, that a lot of my revocations have not been having an effect on this specific thing. And I've come up with every variation of every type of ward revocation audit that you can even think of, in multiple variations and multiple ways of doing it. And the spells just aren't holding. So what this is the crux of it, where when you're going through life and you just cannot accomplish things, you cannot get things done. It seems like you should be further than you are. And you should be a lot further in an area that you are. Some of the spiritual community would say, well, if it doesn't keep working, they always say that's a footnote or a rule of thumb. They always say, if it's not working, you were not meant to be in there, thy will be done, like the Christians say. And that is an area where you cannot always go. You cannot say, oh, this is God's will. No, I disagree fervently with that, because of the fact that some negative force is trying to keep you away from something. I always go at it from the other angle. I keep trying at it. If something ultimately does not work, then, I try a different angle. But I come at it differently, where I don't give into be happy with what you have, or your abundance will come in a different way. That's nails on a chalkboard to me.
So when it's a ploy that's used in an overage situation to get acceptance to the overage. So it's hard because, you have to tease out, is this the balancing of something that you needed, which they'd be happy for you to constantly
believe that. Yeah, sometimes it is true, though. So I will say sometimes it is true.
Sometimes it is true. Yeah. But normally, even with that, closures to something do not take a whole lifetime. Once you really deal with something and close it, it is done with. But overage would want you to continue something on and on and on and on. And again, we hate to say it, that, certain energies have infiltrated anything and everything. If it's good, boy, it's been infiltrated. To kind of put in some teachings that would maybe benefit something else. And some of those teachings would be that, things are always, you're getting it because it's a mirror of you, or you're getting it, because it's just meant to be that way. It's not your turn to do this, and so there's always going to be some sort of, or
it's not your time yet.
Some sort of rationale.
Carrot and stick that keeps you going on.
Correct. And some sort of rationalization to get you to accept this is the truth of the situation. Now, and so again, that is what we, beings that work in the realm of overage, of course, they're going to do these types of things. And they're going to do a lot of other things as well to really kind of either nail that down so that you will finally believe it, or to even drive you further potentially into a depression or into a state that will stagnate spiritual growth, by maybe even you seeing others that are around you that are succeeding in a certain way, but you seem to be excluded from it, even if it's a similar subject matter. Those types of things are strategies that are used. So again, this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about those times. And normally, if you're unsure, there are skilled seers who can say more that this is related to this versus this is not related to that. And, be able to tease out, people are becoming more and more skilled and recognizing the concept of the overage to try and help people weed out, which one is this?
Yeah, well, are you being put on a different lane and made to keep trying something and failing at it, just to demoralize you in an area? Or is it something you're not supposed to be doing to begin with? Are they trying to keep you away by pushing you towards something? Or are they trying to keep you away from retracting you from something? That's where discernment comes in that place.
Even though I don't think it's listed, but I think it's good to bring it up right now because it goes into some of the others you have, is one of the ways, or this, let's call it the situations. where this is really used a lot happens to be, unfortunately, with people that were in some way or formed. And again, we're not talking a little amount of people. We're talking a lot of people that were brought into certain programs earlier, in their lives, be it, we do believe that we're out there amongst the stars. That infrastructure was built upon the common man. Mm-hmm. You were maybe pulled into something and then let go. Though those persons who maybe had advanced knowledge in one area, they do not want to bring that knowledge back into mm-hmm. this area, are going to be some of those people where we would say overage is potentially going to be applied.
And pounding them basically with dirt. A good example of information they didn't want back. And this happens with a lot of secret space program people, where there is this forgetfulness in some area, or like say in mathematics or science, or even some high psychic capabilities. They did not want you coming back with it. So they just wanted to use you for what they wanted to use you for there. An example of this and how something good brought this about as well is, I want to say when I was hurt, but when I had my near-death experience, it was both a good and a bad thing that happened there. I came back with a greater range of the abilities those people trained me with, and I still use to this day, getting rid of demons, getting rid of themselves, off people's properties, et cetera, and other various things I don't really need to go into at the moment. But then they did not want that set of abilities back. I became more of an anomaly at that point to them, and something that they couldn't touch. But at the same time, they continued to badger through the voice to skull, through that rhythm, through the program. They tried to program it. They tried the hamster wheel on us. This is why I'm saying we have not 100% solved this. The day that I do this, I'm going to be shouting it from the rooftops, because this is something that is affecting a lot of people, more so the secret space program and the My Labs people in particular. It affects them a lot more. There was somebody that emailed in and gave us a question at one time. Now they're getting me to stammer about a concept called aftercare. Secret space. God damn it, they're really doing it today. They're making my vocal cords all screwed up here. I'll start again. Somebody wrote in and talked about what's known as aftercare. And we answered that on our Q&A, but at the same time, this concept is prevalent within the hamster wheel, even more enforced in the overage, because people that were in these programs, they don't want them to have any sort of peaceful existence or abundant business type things with financially. They're starting to do this again. And I put this in there. I put a bullet point that said lack of financial abundance, getting enough to survive and never getting more to play with, or some kind of abundance to where it could rival their wealth level. They do not want this. They know there's brilliant people out there that could possibly overtake them in that way and figure out the financial systems. This is something that has always bugged me in this. I've seen story after story in the spiritual new age areas. Again, I'm dumping on the age. Sorry, guys, really am, but I have to go here. This lack of financial abundance. What happens is, and there's a famous story out there that I saw in the 90s, height of the new age movement. I saw this in the 90s, where this woman who, there was a time where she canceled her insurance from her job. And I won't go into the entire thing, but she ended up then getting hurt badly. And she went through a surgery and had this enormous bill. Well, then all of a sudden she plays the lottery and gets almost nearly to the number exact amount that was on the bill. This kind of crap pisses me off, because it's touted as joyful and go, oh yeah, it was all in divine timing in that way, which there is an aspect to that. It's true, but at the same time, it was just canceling one thing out for another. The person still got hurt, which means this was more of a form of targeting than it was the other, because of the fact it was a form of overage. Because you're supposed to be able to manifest a much greater amount. You can manifest millions if you want to within those energies. You've heard us talk about the way you manifest things. That is if you go back to our manifestation episode, it talks directly about this. And you've heard us talking many times on Interstellar Council about this concept. You are creator beings. You are a spark of creation. you're supposed to be able to do anything. And yes, within your lane, of course, you have your lanes, but this exact amount for this exact amount, and then you're still living in some form of poverty, that's unacceptable right there. You've heard me say in the past, poverty is a choice. I know I've offended people by saying this. What I've really meant about that is you're taking control of that sovereignty and creating more of that abundance by choosing in that way. Some people have gotten mad at me for saying that, and I meant it in a completely different light than what people were thinking. There have been several people that I've gotten angry messages for that, saying, no, it's not a choice, it's this. Yes, it is this. You're absolutely right. It's the outside sources doing this, keeping you that way. And what you have to do is shift your vibration and shift your declaration of sovereignty and your manifestation to step outside of that. I'm not saying that's easy by any stretch of the imagination. I probably oversimplified it. Yeah, and also some believe, you've heard us talk about stepping into your passion. Yes, that does help. But I have also noticed even trying to get into your passion on some days is actually fairly difficult.
Well, we have to be honest with the conversation of the stronger portion for field wins. And so right now we've always spoken about where we are in general, taking a snapshot, not to hold anyone down, but if you take an onion layer or a snapshot of where in general people are, we're in the process right now of learning these things about ourselves, learning our co-creative abilities, learning how our co-creative abilities, unfortunately, we're more taught how to use them for someone else's benefit rather than ours. So in an ideal world where we have already learned a lot about our manifesting abilities, it will become easier to change the tides of some of these things because our skill level. But truthfully, the first thing is just awareness. There has to be awareness that something is going on, and then your heartfelt intention, desire of what you want or don't want. So those two things, as some people say, are half the battle. And then you have to learn the co-creative as you're learning. But then again, knowing that there's a force potentially being applied against you gives you something to now learn these skills against. So even in that, since you can't take money with you to the other side, on a spiritual side, you do have something that you're actively working on, as far as enhancing skills. So, and then again, we've had this conversation before. What does abundance actually mean? Well, how do you define it? Is it only money? Is it only this, or is abundance the friends you have around you, or is abundance the spiritual energy that you are creating? What does it actually mean? And so, again, for many, many years, abundance only meant, a recognition by the world we're in that you are somehow financially, successful. But is that truly the only meaning? So there's a lot, again, this is why this subject becomes so hard and is so complicated, because all these different factors are in play. But what, again, we're really trying to concentrate on more in this first part is just the awareness of this existence, and that it is real, and that it is not related, some of this to normal growth and development that you would want to have in different lives, and that this really does happen. Again, just to reiterate some of the things you were saying about the Secret Space program, I think what's important to know is in let's call it the debriefing, okay? Just like aftercare, believe me, aftercare is in quotes. We're not saying aftercare is a good thing. We're saying aftercare was a term that somebody used. We did not create it. We're not taking ownership of this.
But I love the term.
But we think the term is fantastic. Yeah. So, but aftercare, so it's always said with quotes, really is for the benefit of someone else to keep you suppressed. It's their aftercare for their agenda. So you have to understand, that that's what we mean by that term. So in this, aftercare, how do they know when to come in and do the aftercare? So in general, as a part of the debriefing, when you're leaving, let's say when you're leaving, and I do put out in quotes too, because you're never gone.
No, you're never really gone.
You can be pulled in at any second. and exploited in many different ways still, is that there is an ability to kind of move throughout what they feel your life is once they've taken the memories, once they brought you back. There's kind of a last bit of scanning that's done, and they're looking for the blips in time where they feel that a spiritual growth is starting to arise, that they recognize, and they've already got it planned in their calendar, moments of the aftercare where you are going to be being visited, whether you'll want it or not, so that they can prune things back to the way that they want it.
Kind of like in the show Loki, where they were pruning the timelines that weren't desired, in one controllable timeline. It's like that. Think along those lines. Just like I'm going to give a really good, financial example that we've encountered recently. I'm not going to name any names, but when we attempted to put our products in that shop recently, this is a beautiful example of some of the crap that goes on because of this hamster wheel effect. We attempted very recently, after a few years of trying to get our products into a store here where we are. And it was the same set of stores, it was different people managing it. So we figured, okay, we'll try again. Well, we went back, we asked if we could bring product by.
But in truth, this was something we didn't expect, because it started with just a curiosity question. Yeah. We weren't even trying to promote it. It just was a lot. It seemed to be more like a curiosity. It seemed to be, and this is, I don't think this is unimportant. It seemed to be divine timing. It seemed to be in
divine timing. Even intuitively, it kind of seemed to fit.
So the reason I say that is that we were literally went into the shop. You wanted to buy some things, and you bought a pretty large quantity. So the person behind the counter was like, why are you buying this? What are you doing? And then a conversation just struck up about how they would really like to showcase local vendors. And, she just started, working there. And the goal was that she understood some of her role was to find local people. So we were asked to, bring in some of the things that were made and everything, and then they could get together, and maybe they would want to add them to their shop. So it took several weeks for us in timing to get back to one another, but we went in there, showed the things, and she was taking pictures and doing things, and she thought, I really think a few things here may be very interesting for the shop, blah 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 blah. And so that's kind of what happened. And she was on that same day just still communicating with other people that she needed to communicate with.
And then we didn't hear from her for almost a week. And what had taken place was, finally texted the person I was asking what was going on. We hadn't heard from her when she said she was going to get back. This person told me, and this person was innocent in this, in my opinion, very innocent in this, got back to me and said that there was a neighboring shop that had, that this person owned the neighboring shop, this other lady, that partially owned the one she was working in. And some of them seemed to have ownership with each other there. We came in and basically said this person was taking too much initiative, wanting products in their store, and her and this other person fired her on the spot.
The same day that we had spoken to her later in the afternoon.
Yes, and what had happened was that she was so sad about that she didn't get back to me. Then when I texted her, she told me what had taken place. This particular individual that did the firing, this is a good example of somebody aiding in the aftercare, and I'll tell you why. This was more than likely, and I can't prove this, mind you. So if this person's listening, can't prove you're on the losing team, but this is I say losing team because I call them losers. They may go on for a little bit, but they're still on the loser team, as far as I'm concerned. This individual, I believe, is a watchman for the area, and what I mean by watchman is they will purvey an area, and they will just like people watch, and they will also aid in say the businesses in that area are in a form of a guild or a form of a clique. These people solidify that clique as well and make sure that nothing that would disrupt the SSP's agenda or an aftercare targeting agenda like ourselves, or like anything that could, any object or product that could possibly violate what we call the yield or the restrictions of information, product, and devices, things of that nature, with the cabal and some of these other businesses. This person, I feel, though, was not necessarily a secretive person. They were not only programmed, but I believe they were assigned to that role. That is my belief, and that is my opinion at the moment, in case this person's listening. This person automatically went after this kinder woman just because of her interaction with ourselves.
I say that there's probably more to it. The reason I say there may be a little bit more to it is because she obviously was energy sensitive.
Yes.
So she even bought something that we thought they would be completely uninterested in the store, but she wanted to see them for herself. And she felt the energy so strong, calming off of one of them. Mm-hmm. She bought it for herself because she wanted it, because she knew there was something really good for her. So something that we would never have expected to end up in a store. Not that she was buying it for the store. She was looking at other things, but she wanted it for herself. So I thought that was interesting to see how energy sensitive she was. So I'm sure there was also a rub. There was also a rub
forming with this other person as well. And I always notice in these situations where some people like ourselves, if they want to say get a product in somewhere or an idea somewhere, there's always somebody called the decider. I hear that phrase constantly when I'm going around. And of course, that's associated with politics, like George Bush, and then he was called the decider too. That's another reason it's nails on a chalkboard to me. But at the same time, that's cabal related. But at the same time, I hear that phrase pop up in almost every one of these situations. Oh, this person's the decider. This person's the decider. And that always bugged me, because that always, that's a foreign torsion field colliding with my own manifestations. It's a nails on a chalkboard to me. And there was another person that was the decider, but this other lady came completely out of left field, and someone I did not expect to be there. I probably should have, knowing the pattern of the cabal and their watchers, but I wasn't really expecting it. And this person came completely out of left field, pushed this person out, and they'll probably bring in somebody that's more amicable to their agenda. And even if some of these people don't know what they're a part of, they're a part of. They're a part of, their chain to that rhythm more than other people.
Well, it's just important to see the dynamics of the infrastructure,
of
how this is set up. So we want to bring that into awareness, because part of the hamster wheel is constantly running into something like this, where they will love for you to be scratching your head saying, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, you're not doing anything wrong.
You may not be doing a darn thing wrong, but they want you to believe that you're the one now doing something wrong that doesn't allow for this, that, or the other and you see this repetitive pattern occurring. It may not have anything to do with you whatsoever. But again, our goal is to make people aware that this is out there and that this is real. They don't want to be seen, but we're going to tell you what's really going on out there, so you can be aware of it, so that you can recognize maybe something there. Maybe there is a little something of yourself to look at and think about. But in general, if we're talking in the overage realm, not a lot. And it's usually a repeating pattern. Again, that some people would, it's a mirror, it's this, no, it's not.
But not always.
Not always. And again, I think right now, if you put percentages to things, I would think that maybe at the most 20% of the time would be something you want to look at, and 80% of the time it's not. I mean, it's heavily applied.
And as we've said on our Patreon, we've also said there are, fake things that these beings try to get you to look at. Also, this goes over to the concept called splitting of the densities as well. In that situation, one could judge that because of the difference in frequencies, ourselves and these people. But not the other lady. She was more on our page, but where we drift further apart because we were just two completely different worlds colliding, like what I said on Interstellar Council. On the Friday of the 26th of November, I said things about the worlds colliding. Yes, you can judge that as splitting of the densities, but there is another half to this coin as well that I didn't say, that I will continue off of that thread. First of all, you have splitting of the densities where people just drift away from you. Whereas Viking and I have said, you as an old guru said, where you eventually would have to step over friends and family as you evolve because they were in their lane, we're in ours, sort of thing. That still holds. This other half of the coin is something people don't consider. What if that person doing that wasn't just splitting of the densities? It was also a form of targeting, not to get the stuff out there and to prevent and to make somebody think, well, okay, somebody else would say, thy will be done. I don't do that. I never do that. I come at it from the other angle. And this also goes for repeating programming in family and friends and people walking away. You've heard us talk about this on our Patreon before. Here's another angle for you. There are some recordings of that are titled People Walking Away. And also this has to do with the friends and family. What if this other force, and I'm putting this what if out there, this other force or this targeting and this programming is getting you to think that it's the splitting of the densities away from family and people just to split you away from resources that you could possibly reap the benefits from. And also people that could actually help you in that respect. That's where this voice to skull, chain to the rhythm type of AI comes in as well. And I've noticed this with recent things with some family members and also with people that have walked away. Yes, was that splitting of the densities? Was there a greater benefit when some of these people walked away? Absolutely, that still holds. A greater energy was able to come through at that point, and some more abundant energies were able to come through. After each time certain people in my life fell away, or I canceled them out of my life. I don't want to say cancel, that's horrible. After I decided to walk away from situations, and some people walked away, I noticed energetically things did improve. That is a true concept. But the other half of this coin is, are you basically getting castrated at that point away from resources or decapitated away from resources that you could possibly use? That's more of a job for discernment. And also strange behavior. Some people were asking me about strange behavior in family members and with friends, where people just don't recognize you. They see you more as alien. Yes, that's true. As you change in frequency, that can happen. But also, are they being programmed to see you as weirder and weirder and go away from you? Some would say that was in divine timing, but another part of this is the targeting and trying to keep these people away from you, or trying to get you to stay away from people that are actually meant to be in your life. And that can happen as well on the reverse end of this spectrum. I've seen every single one of these. And the one phrase, also going back to the abundance financial and even spiritual, that I'm getting really sick of hearing, it is nails on chalkboard, is be happy with what you have. This, granted, there is a good side to this, that, to be in gratitude and joy. But the metaphysical side, or the New Age, where we're saying, oh, you have to be in gratitude. No, I'm not really in gratitude over being targeted, folks, just to tell you right now. And also, what if you say be happy with what you have, and you're negating something that is really good that you can integrate into your life. And this goes to the concept that love conquers all. This is another programming right here. I hear this all the time, or the good prevails. I hear this all the time. And yes, this is based on extremely old teachings. Whereas they always say the good that takes up the sword always wins, or something like that. This is not necessarily true, folks. And does love conquer all? I'm not a believer in that anymore, because of the fact that love could be on all sides. A serial killer could love what he's doing, or I could love someone and love what I'm doing in my passion. That's a moot point right there. But this other part where good always conquers all. And also, our angels and guides have this. That's not necessarily true. This is part of this wheel, or this hamster wheel, where people are believing this over and over again, the wash, rinse, and repeat, because of the fact what people don't understand is, like, say, when I ask for help from other beings, I'm also aware of the fact that they might not be able to do the job. It's not necessarily their job to do it. It's my job to meet them part of the way, just like knowing the existence of the hamster wheel basically negated 50% of its power, because of the fact I'm aware of it. If I call on somebody, there's a chance that they may not be able to show up. They could be hung up somewhere. And people laugh at that, saying, "Oh, they're omnipotent. They're this, they're that." No, sorry, folks. We've said this before. They could get hung up. There could be a layover somewhere, for all we know. There could be some forces holding them back. There could be some other hang up that I may not get to talk to that being or see them or get help in that way, and I have to do it myself. And I'm not saying that doesn't suck, because I've run into many sucky situations recently. Also, getting sick was one of them from a targeting. So, with that said, in these situations where you're praying for help, it's not always an absolute, because I would like to say it is. Say you have another malevolent force that could be of equal power to that of the good one, or the good intention one. I hate to do in dualisms, but somebody that has more of a malevolent way of being and a benevolent way of being, they could be of equal power. And this is something that people are very uncomfortable with. Even in Star Wars, Luke asking Yoda, "Is the dark side stronger?" And he goes, "No." He was more implying that they were equals, and that one could overtake the other. But this is what's happening. It's basically a war of light and dark, if you want to call it that. And also, love and light is another phrase I'm starting to get that nails on a chalkboard from. And we were just talking about this morning. Whereas this whole love and light concept, that's not an absolute either. This could bend to both sides. Like light and sound can be abused by some more negative forces. Also, those negative forces could love what they're doing. So that's kind of negates that phrase too.
I mean, Lucifer is the light bringer.
Yeah.
If you think of Lucifer as a not so good guy, but he's bringing light, what does that mean? So I think, when we're talking about love and light, again, as we expand, and again, one of the words we're going to learn so much more about of what it really means is that word love, Love. We have our experience of what that means right now in our mind of what we feel that is right now. But in general, the word means so much more. Usually when I say my understanding of what it means, everyone's eyes roll in the back of their head. But in general, you have to think of love being, there is infinite play, infinite creation, infinite, amount that we're a part of, we're encircled in, that co-creative soup, let's say, it's all around us. What love is your ability to take the energy to co-create with it. So you're literally in a sandbox, and whatever you're creating and dealing with at the moment is your love. Now, for us, we are currently, have been currently thinking of love as who we want to hang with, who, what we want to do, the joint things together, or this, that, and the other, what we want to co-create. And we have a smaller thing. But again, if you're in a, sandbox, there are plenty of people that are co-creating. I want to be dominating this time around, and they're in love with the dominating and what they're doing. So, because it's partly their creation that they are exploring on a larger soul level. So people want to carry duality, but actually what will happen with some of duality as we move further and further into our understanding more of duality, the concept of duality and the understanding of there's a right or a wrong are going to turn into gray, shady gray, and then are going to be seen, even totally differently. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen tomorrow, because I don't believe so. I believe that, this type of evolutionary, type of perspective for humanity is going to be a ways off. But I will say that, again, change is going to occur in these areas as we gain more knowledge and experience, change to how we see things, change to what we think of all kinds of institutions. Everything will begin to change as we have a better understanding of it. And we do believe knowledge is power, which is why we are so much into at least disclosing everything that we know about a subject matter. And again, that will grow and add and change, as well to some of it as we grow. So that's part of this conversation. Again, this part one is all about making sure people can ponder that this stuff really does exist, and it's outside of some of the normal conversation that people want to justify that it is. Because if you accept in these possibilities that it's bigger, then for some people initially it becomes scary, because then you feel like, oh my gosh, there's a force out there that I will never be able to, overcome. I am going to be.
Yeah, and if you keep saying that, you won't be.
You're actually co-creating staying in it, but it's not meant for humanity to stay there. Humanity is meant to grow beyond these experiences.
And also, the closer you get to breaking this glass ceiling with information, and you've seen Viking get hit with this. I've gotten hit with this multiple times. We've all got hit with this, are the mind wipes from all this taking place. I was wondering what I was forgetting to say. I ended up getting mind wiped, and then that's what is part of the subject.
Right.
That's part of the hamster wheel as well. If you've noticed the vanishing thoughts, that's part of that when you're getting really close to something very much. Here's an example we just saw yesterday. We were watching WandaVision. This popped up with that show that had to do with the Truman Show type of scenario. Whereas whenever Vision would get close to the truth, all of a sudden he was reset to a certain point where he wouldn't remember, or he was mind wiped of the time he figured something out about the whole Truman Show setup that was going on. You want to talk about weird? Go watch that. But this had to do with that process as well. I was thinking, what did we see yesterday that had to do with this? And it was some of it was the mind wipe process and the whole Truman Show setup that was actually going on in that.
In truth, guys, many people will have to make sure they get through episode 4.
Get through to number 4. You're going to want to blow your brains out by episode 3. Sorry, Marvel.
You're is so whacked out. You're like, I can't do this. It's just ridiculous. It's just, what the hell's going on? This is stupid. They build it up. And so
they build it up, but by episode
slowly.
Get past episode 3, you're going to be fine.
Get past episode 4, and you'll probably see maybe it's worth watching.
Yeah, it'll be worth watching, and it has a lot of true concepts that have to do with a lot of this hamster wheel concept that are in there. Just make it past the 4th episode, you're good. I would have said 3 because the 4th one actually started to touch on our normal world, but 4, yeah, but yeah, that's why I wanted to add that in, because it had to do with this subject. And sorry, Marvel, you got creepy in those first few episodes, but
some of it is creepy.
Yeah, I'm
going to tell you the truth. Some of this stuff that we try to bring up or whatever seems so unreal, it is creepy. It's probably more able because of the creepiness that's going on in the world, creepiness that's going on in the United States right now in this year 2021, and all of this stuff that no one can believe. It does shake you open to and it's meant to shake you open to maybe ponder some of these other concepts. The concept of true hamster wheel, let's say domination and control, Earth being used as an energy farm, because people are like, of course they're going to be all benevolent out there because they could have destroyed us all by now. Well, no one's going to destroy the farm that's feeding them.
No.
But you do not hear that conversation out there, that there is really this concept of, that basically this is more of a farm. There is a concept out there. I do know, as far as people saying this is a prison planet.
I don't like that particular.
And they do, and they basically say, things like you're here to learn love, compassion, and this. And it's only when it's like I'm going to really paraphrase this, but the souls that are here were pretty rotten. Okay. And we all have to learn who is here, how to be loving, kind, compassionate. And then when you get to that point, then you're allowed to move on. And so I'm like, well, if I, look at my belief system to that, I will say that, it's an interesting thing because we do believe in energies. We do believe in changing frequencies. We do believe in that kind of growth. It's hard to say one thing is better than another. But we will say that a lot of times that people that are, and again, we're saying this all wrong. We already know this, but we're going to use the language we have. In the world of, rising frequencies, again, that's the wrong term, but it's what we understand to get the concept across. People that are in those lower frequencies, those lower chakra type of frequencies, where it's all about just the basics of, eating, keeping a roof over your head, sexual things or whatever, in those lower densities before there's more time and energy that you can spend on pondering other things, that I'd say, well, there's a little bit of truth to that. People tend to want to keep coming back, because they are in these lower frequencies. And in what we're talking about right now, we would agree that there is a concerted effort, not because we want to, this is where we slide off, that there is overage to keep you down there so that you'll keep recycling back, because it's our belief system. This is a farm. So they need their farm animals to keep coming back.
The reptilians and the Orions and them, or whoever would succeed them, would never ever destroy this planet. And they would never destroy the people, because they need their farm energies. Just know that any of these fearful apocalyptic things where people would get destroyed, no, it's not that way, folks. Would you destroy your farm if you had farmlands? Would you set fire to them? No, that would be stupid. That's not. These are strategic beings, so their brain power, that they've had to do this over the centuries. And also with the reptilians, they would need the energies on the spot, either from the people or from the energies from the people. So there would be no point in destroying the farm. Keeping certain hamster wheels going and getting the energy from that, absolutely so. And also, it's people have to remember, these Orion beings that were decrepit, were those bodies on the way out? Yeah, but they found a way to transfer into human ones, so that they couldn't keep going down through the centuries like the immortals in Highland. And there's some good beings trying to keep some of them in check too. That's actually been happening here on Earth for over the centuries as well. But they figured out how to not only move us from body to body, but themselves from body to body. Like you've heard Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That's essentially them. Now, can we get out of that changing of the guard? Absolutely. We can change that. We can change it going from the cabal, from going from one flag to another. Absolutely. That can be changed.
First starts with awareness. And again, this is, again, since the subject was hamster wheel, what we're talking about as far as, keeping you down so that you come back in. We refer to a lot of that as what's happening to many people is what we refer to as the false reincarnation cycle, but they're being reshuffled in, not really being able to really do a nice life review to decide what's the subject matter I really want to learn about, which is versus what is more advantageous for somebody else for me to experience. So these are the kinds of things, but that again is another type of hamster wheel effect that is going on and is happening to a lot of people, as well as a hamster wheel effect that actually even occurs. Again, I'm just going to acknowledge that it exists. We could speak on this for so long. For those that have passed, but their spirit hasn't moved on to the other world, they're left potentially in a little hamster wheel of being here as a ghost or doing something or whatever, where their energies also are able to continually be harvested.
And taken to other worlds, be used as soldiers, doctors, any of those things. You've heard us talk about that.
Yeah. So again, another example of, when we say hamster wheel, there's so many different things to talk about. Again, we're not talking about things, and I think, we're probably just going to move this along for time's sake. We're not saying this because this is a hopeless, helpless situation. We're saying this because of the fact that awareness and knowledge is power. Because once you know and you start to recognize this, you can then start to make different choices in the moment that are potentially going to now move you away from, the hamster wheel cycle or time frames of being away, and then you accidentally get caught on it again. We've not perfected our skills, but we will continue to work on these skills and we will gain more and more control over them. That is what is going to happen. It just takes a little bit of time. But the first thing is awareness and open to the possibility that not everything we're saying is so far out there and we're just Looney Tunes, that it's literally something to ponder. Could this be happening to people in general and or to you in your life? And then, I think as we get into these other parts, we're going to focus more on the successful things that we've been seeing that help you move from that and everything. And there's a lot of, you have to look at yourself a lot, because most people do not want to accept that they've fallen for the hamster wheel. There's a bit of pride here that people have to overcome, a bit of their ego that they have to overcome to be able to say, wow, I may be hung up on this too, and I don't want it. So, it's any person on this earth is subject to this, and no one on this earth, no one has gained the skills yet, to actually be completely off of it. There's always going to be a being that's going to be higher and has an agenda that could potentially hook you and get, whether you recognize the being as there or not, that could actually have eyed you and hook you into something. So you need to kind of be aware of these concepts. So I don't know, because of time, I don't know. Did we pretty much cover what was on your
we covered every point. There was like 7 points here, so that we covered all of them. We've added other stuff in there. And sorry if I'm blinking too much. My eyes have just become seriously crusty for whatever reason. I don't know why. I've been feeling sticky. I don't know why. There's something going on here, but there's some kind of nervous energy or something like that. But it's we're at the galactic contribution time of the show here. And something was trying to get me all, get my eyes all messed up there. But really, somebody back there just said, but she's the somebody reversed it and called you Bat Lady, meaning blind as a bat. So somebody messed with our Bat Girl. Okay. No, yeah, you did a double meaning on that one. Okay. Basically saying superhero bat girl, blind as a bat girl. Okay.
Going off my sonar.
Going off your sonar, yeah. Oh, that within the joke, they're calling it Isaac. Okay. There's within the joke there is trust what you're feeling essentially.
What you're feeling and what you're reading.
Oh, it was Vesa. She pulled an Isaac where she just basically I equate Isaac to Groot, where like if he says I am Isaac, you go, oh yeah, you actually meant that. Okay, I always call him Groot for like that but she pulled an Isaac where it meant it was a joke that meant an expanded meaning, and she's saying that he's not the only one that can pull that.
It's kind of an interesting thing because I am gonna go back to one thing you've got listed on here that you didn't say, but I'm going to use it in a different context. So, for the situation that we're in and what we're doing and what we try to bring in and whatever, obviously most people recognize, and we've said that there's a bit of pushback on what we kind of try to bring through, and we want people to be aware of. And so, what just happened, is a mechanism of true communication that is utilized where they may not feel that they can come out and say something specifically, but they're hoping what they say that we can discern energetically what the true meaning is behind what they're trying to tell us. One of the things, again, that for me personally, I'm kind of the got my sonar out looking for trouble, looking for when they're around, looking for, this kind of whatever. And, when we maybe need to alter or change or do something a little bit differently, I think when they look at me as being the less trusting of the two of us, the one that's kind of a little bit more on, alert, looking for something that's trying to seep in, come in, cause trouble, blah, blah, blah. So interestingly for me, I'm always feeling for words that were said, but what's really being felt as the meaning. And sometimes it's flat out that there is, as I use this term on a Patreon, a red flag warning that there is trouble about. Now, they're not allowed necessarily to come in and say, whoo, wish I could tell you, because you get mad about that. Wish I could tell you that, my God, they're heading your way, right? And they don't necessarily, say anything like that. But every now and then they may say something that, Chris, may roll over Chris's back a little bit, and then every little hair on the back of my neck is standing up. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. There's danger afoot. And so sometimes if you have a really good relationship with your guides, please know that they may try to warn you with indirect conversation that something is afoot, and what they are really trying to see if you can do is feel it out versus only accept the words that are coming from their mouth. And it's very important. You've got to sometimes feel it out, feel the intention of what's coming on. And that is a huge skill set that we are all now trying to work upon. So, for, a statement that really can be approved to say, approved from both parties, that you can use this statement because it may also stagnate them, is a statement like, your abundance to you will come in a different way. Okay, so in a bad guy's way, that would be to stagnate what you're doing.
But in a good guy's way.
But in a good guy way, it's like, there is trouble coming. So, you
gotta read it like
you
that,
have to read things with a particular intention. So I want to throw that out as another life skill, where sometimes, again, we're always into, you must discern, you must discern, you must discern. You must not always trust what you are physically seeing. If you literally are a vision person, you must develop the sense of, what do I really feel that means? What's my intuition telling me? And these are the areas that really then will guide you, because part of strategy is visual distractions or this, that, and the other. And you really then have to go within and develop your own personal sonar system, or whatever you want to say, to really be able to feel things out so that you understand the energies better. So that's just one example I wanted to give, because that's happened to us before. And sometimes it can be stagnating, and sometimes it's like, okay, the storm's coming. And it doesn't necessarily put into our mind an end to anything, but there are some very wise moments where maybe you ought to just ride the storm out versus acting. That is not necessarily being on a treadmill. So, and again, another moment of what is not being on a treadmill is when you recognize that there is a pattern of this and you just decided to wait out this storm. You're going to think about it. You're going to rest a little bit. You're going to watch some funny cat videos. You're not going to participate in something. You've just taken yourself off the treadmill. Mm-hmm. And so there are going to be moments like that. Yeah. There are going to be moments, again, where, and we'll talk about this more in a later show, when you have to recognize that. And you have to recognize that that is in your highest good, because then you can have more time to think, to ponder, to relook, to feel what is the best and the highest good for you, and everything like that. So again, I think it was really important that she did that, because I think it was probably something we needed to say and talk about that we had not yet brought up. Yeah, that's the way they talk, Coach. Little things like that phrase, your abundance can come to you in a different way, as nails on a chalkboard, as sometimes that is to me. That's both connotations right there, as well as that whole Batgirl gag, like Isaac usually does. But she did the same thing, where she was basically saying, listen to your sonar on that particular point, is essentially how she was saying it. And basically she went, Isaac's not the only one that can pull that gag, but it's like, she's the one that seems to want to one up him a lot. I've noticed, like, when she's around, he just kind of does this. He's like, he's just like, where do I look? Like this, or it's like, but it's like he'll take a step back and go, just like in the video we did, where we heard both the ladies and him when we asked certain questions. They were the ones throwing out all the perverted stuff. He was the one standing back going, keep smiling, everybody. He was like that. So that's the difference right there. He seems to be slightly intimidated by them a little bit, so he just kind of stands back and just waits. But I find that hilarious. Where it's just this competition between the two of them and him, but it's like, I find it hilarious. That's also how you have some legitimate beings that are good to have around, is when they do these gags and do this laughter and everything. Sometimes that's not always true. Sometimes there could be negative ones that laugh at your hardship, but again, that goes within the hamster wheel realm and the real one. So and as Isaac says, it's laughter is basically the best medicine, but that also can be split in both sides too, as well as love can. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay, now we're at the galactic contribution, which these guys have been here a while since we got up, uh, and I think they were helping with something that was around because I had a pretty rough night as far as this crap goes. So people think, oh, Chris is going to be killing all these things. Yeah, that may be so in some cases, but there's sometimes where I'm asleep and they'll be hitting me with a hammer all night long. So it's like that's essentially what was going on. So it'd be like if you had someone in the house that while you were asleep, like if you had a friend come over or something like that. If you were asleep, they'd come in and start shaking you awake and hitting you in the head with stuff. And that's essentially kind of a comparison energetically is how it was. But only I know Vessa, they're not friends. I understand, but that's kind of a loose analogy right there. And they went very loose. Okay. Okay, which one of you is going to talk instead of bash me or what? Okay. You are Elena, because Elena's back there on the couch, and you're in here. So which one of you is going to talk? Is it you? Oh, it's you, Vessa. Okay, Elena, you usually let her talk more and more and more now. What's going on with that? There's normally I'm not objecting. I'm just saying. She said because. Oh, good Lord. Went Vessa's more the dominating in that relationship slightly. You have the okay. Yeah, I'm not going to even repeat what you were about to say. Okay, let me see. All right. They were getting into more of the sexual joking, so it's like, okay, we're going back to the topic.
Just say it's her name.
Yeah, she yelled, "It's her lane." Okay. Well, Elena communicates quite often. It's just that it flips around at times where Vessa is the primary one. So it seems they go. The one is it's like almost like sun and moon sort of deal with them. So
Probably has to deal with the subject matter. One feels better at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Elena went, don't compare us to the sun and moon ascension process. Kidding, they're going kidding, but that they said that's a ancient Babylonian Orion set of oppressive type things that are in there that they were trying to hint at there in some magic ways. So I was just trying to make a comparison, but she just said just say one speaks better on this, one speaks better on that. Okay. Instead of going into the elaborate magical mystical crap. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Elena. That they're always blunt, so they're just giving me shit. So okay, they seem to do it more subtly than Isaac. He'll go out and say, "You're a dipshit," and then they'll go they'll suddenly do this, and then you've just been kind of mind whammed by them for a second. It's like, okay. They just seem to be better at it than him to a point. He's more direct. They're more like, So, okay. Yes, I'll shut up so one of you can talk. Okay. Vessa went, you used too many words. Okay. Meaning shut the fuck up. Okay. They're saying, use your mind more than words, folks. That's like and don't be like Isaac. Okay. Who said that? Oh, okay. Somebody did. There's a lot of you here. Okay. Oh, why do you have me take the hat off? That has Shungite armor. No, well, Shungite can block both sides sometimes. So. Yes, I know it would help if I give you ladies an edifice. I understand. All right. I gave the fairies an edifice. Okay, through the crystal, yes. Oh, man. Something rough coming from that way, but. Yes, this is Vessa to speak on this subject. Time has come to bring this one up. At this point in time, even you speaking about it shifts that 50% of people where they are aware, even the ones that are unaware. go into the 50, but the ones that are aware start to inch a little bit beyond that 50%. As the fairy guests were talking about yesterday, or the day before that on Interstellar Council, the waters are a bit rough in your specific residence because of some previous harassment and other things being generated around your home in particular because of this particular targeting. It's no fault of your own, but it has been occurring for several days now. The fairies managed to boost the energy to a certain extent. This again has been going on off and on even while he was ill. So with these different subjects and these different beings, very much like the UFO incident where you spoke about on your Patreon or Will. This arm wrestle has been going on and on for weeks and months now. It is quite annoying. The hamster wheel effect that targeted individuals suffer, whereas they feel they cannot get anywhere. This is common amongst those that were in the programs, and this aftercare business is actually most cruel. The solutions that we can offer, and I myself can offer to this, again, find time to play. But if you are not in that choice and mood at that time, that is also all right too, to be able to ride out that storm. You do not always have to be active in all things. Yes, find your passion, as we have always been saying, but at the same time, and become your passion, but at the same time, and on that same note, we know this also irritates some that have been listening to these shows. And speaking to that individual, we will also be in touch in that area as well. But as we have been saying, it is quite all right to ride out that storm and find that silent space. But this may be a little solace to all of the torture that has been going on. And also know that at times you may have to build up your own protection methods and keep them in play, very much like an arm wrestle or a war of wits or a war of magic, if you want to call it that. And having to rotate, say, different stones and crystals around your house and program them to deflect it back like a mirror. You, at this point, would have to become more of a wizard in that way, or a magician or sorcerer in that way, learning some of the alchemies of the stones and the alchemies of the earth. Nature wins out in this respect, even though there are infected patches of nature, true dryadic beings and true ground and earth you can trust. These are the things that you can keep doing to combat that hamster wheel, going into nature all the time. We know some of you even listening to this now in this recording will say, I've done all this. Yes, this is a common thing amongst targeted individuals. You always say, we have tried this, we have tried this, we have tried this, we have done this, into an ad nauseum type of state. This is understandable, but it is also very important that you take away what is needed within some of those beliefs and discard the rest of the BS. And you know what we mean by BS. The information that does not serve, that has been held onto in a time-honored state from your New Age community. Now, there are good aspects to this that can be utilized. For one, finding that silent space and finding the means to ignore the voices. Yes, they are torturous. Yes, they are horrible. And we ourselves have experienced some of these things being on Earth. Finding that time to just, even if you're just sitting, even if you have to cry out the torture, even if the tears must be shed, even if you have to yell out the torture, not in a torturous way, mind you, even if you have to just sit and ride the storm out, even if you have to take shelter under essentially a rock. This is what you need to do. It differs from person to person how they handle this, but the hamster wheel is one of the biggest things affecting your species currently, with the waves coming from space, with the oppressive blockade in place, and with some of your governmental targeters and individual gang stalkers. The object is never give them more power than they deserve. If you earn more credit than they deserve, if you know they are responsible, say so. If something even small is happening, do not always give them credit where they haven't done anything at that particular point. If it is something smaller that, oh, I stubbed my toe, they must have done this. They're not doing that every single time, but they have done so to get you to have a series. What was not mentioned in this program, a series of unfortunate events, meaning small things that lead up to big things. That is most definitely the hamster wheel, from a stubbed toe all the way to a flat tire, all the way, in some cases, to a hospitalization or death. It can lead up to these series of events, as he's always calling it to be. Sometimes it is not this. Recognize it, always recognize it for what it is, and what not for what it is not. If you are truly running into that pattern, that is the hamster wheel. You recognizing it helps so greatly, and so greatly. We are not always saying that, yes, in falling into your passion, coming to your passion, yes, absolutely so. But at the same time, if you are not in that correct place to become that at the moment, ride it out. Keep yourself out of the view of the radar. Do not always react. There is a key, folks. They wish you to become the essence of the targeting, become the victim. You are not a victim. You are far from victims. You may have been victimized. Do not always see yourself as the victim of the programming. You are the dominator of the programming. You are the stronger torsion field. The stronger torsion field wins in this case. And in this instance, I will go into questions.
So it's an interesting thing that we, again, talk about torsion fields and again, the fear of all of this, because of the fact that, oftentimes when we talk about these subjects, we're always concerned about the timing of them because we don't want to put people in fear. We believe knowledge is power. We do believe in the stronger torsion field. We do believe that humans and humanities are building their skills more and more and more so that their torsion fields in general are becoming stronger and more effective for them as they gain the knowledge of what's really going on. So this is the point of it all. So, right now, though, I must admit that there is so much fear going on with all of this, and people that may think that they are one of the ones now that they're thinking that they're on the hamster wheel, that it is going to generate a little bit of fear. So can you talk a little bit about the fear that becomes generated when you contemplate it could be you, and then, how to override those fears?
Yes, the fear is a common thing when you're in this type of predicament. If you believe you're on the torsion, or not the torsion, but the hamster wheel, generating this fearful torsion field, and feel if you are farming or creating farmed energies for these beings, yes, that is natural to be afraid. But to sidestep this fear is to not give it any strength. Yes, it is natural to be afraid in an instance, or angry in an instance, and balance all these emotions. Keep the emotions balanced, not suppressed, balanced. Always cry if you need to, always be hurt or frustrated if you need to. And if you're afraid of something, keep it as a margin type of emotion, and not an overwhelming, terrifying type of thing. There are certain waves hitting at the moment that are irritating his sinus cavities. So this is why this is going on. It is coming from that direction. This is what causes this condition, the swelling of the gland, is part of this targeted system. You see, this is what inflames this part of the face and the thymus. In this, it is important to not give them what they want. As Isaac always says, and yes, I'm giving him credit for this, he says, be a pain in the ass as much as possible. This is absolutely true. You being in your lane is being a pain in the ass, but also defying that fear with courage and with absolute sovereignty. And being here, we always say be in the moment, but at the same time, it is also more important to not go into the terrified, overly nervous state that they want you to be in, because that's where they're farming the energies. It's natural to be afraid, but you catch that fear and not suppress it, but turn it into not necessarily stoicness, but more or less courage. Even if you're agitated and frustrated and angry that they are doing something, that is fine. Then you balance it out amongst the emotions. It is, how can I put it? ground the courage rather than the fear. This is something they do not want you standing in your own presence. And knowing who you truly are actually begins to combat this subject. That's only part of it, mind you, because there is equipment doing this. And your own personal torsion field and courage, and I hate to use the word heroism, but it is what it is, becoming that your own hero within. Not in a mighty quest sort of way, but as a sovereign individual, you begin to overpower the equipment, very much like you have a computer that your energies can overpower in 2 seconds if you wished it to be, or your physicalities can actually shut the computer off, meaning your hands can actually turn the switch. Your energies can do the same. If you overpower the equipment, which is massive, we're not going to lie, but your unity of community also begins to shut this off as well. Not discounting people that could be your allies just because they seem like they're drifting into what you call the stupid cycle or something like that. That is not necessarily healthy. You will know when it's somebody that's supposed to drift away from you. In this instance, unification is going to be the thing that completely topples this system.
And again, as you said, and as I believe, people misunderstand the word courage. Courage isn't walking without fear. Courage is walking in spite of being in fear.
Yes.
So you really, in a sense,
without fear is impossible.
Correct. And you should acknowledge, there is no, you should know that the power is in being courageous, meaning you acknowledge you've got some fear, but you're going to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. And so that's a time where you're really understanding more about what courage is. Now, again, and I like the fact that you discussed here at the end and the importance that this could be a vulnerable time for you. And your courage is not going to be to say, I hate everybody and completely devoid yourself.
Even though it is a natural way of thinking about others, even though that is also a form of programming, of course, you would begin to be angry at the people you believe are doing it, which are only one small component.
Right. And so taking a moment to self-heal by pulling back is different from that then becoming your lifestyle.
Yes.
And so, so you need to recognize when you need a moment to pull back, because I personally like to lick my wounds alone for just a little bit, but usually after a day or so, all that's then been done. And, things are better. And, versus understanding the ploy of them trying to completely isolate you forever from people versus a momentary thing. So sometimes the courage that you're going to have is to go back to your foundational belief systems. Do you believe that people have the right to learn and grow at their own pace? Do you believe you have that right? If that is a true foundational belief, then you have to learn to apply it. And then you have to learn that if you go out with that loving intention that people have the right to learn and grow at their own pace, and you're going to choose to have these vulnerable moments in yourself, and you're going to choose to interact with other people, and again, you're going to choose to do it in a kind way, what you will find is that the people are going to be there to give you actually the supportive energies that you need, because you are going to get back what you are now putting out. But that is what they also want to separate you from. They don't want you to see that. They don't want you to see the effects of a unity when energies are genuine, when energies are even, because, we respond to people that are vulnerable. We are, it's a part of the character of the human race to care for people in a vulnerable state, especially when knowing there is not horrible intention behind them anywhere. So allowing yourself sometimes to receive the nurturing energies from people, whether or not you agree on everything. This could be family members or people that genuinely love you, but you guys cannot talk about the coronavirus. This may be people that you genuinely love you, but you can't quite talk about politics. But why do you have to be talking about those two subjects? Allow the genuineness and the nurturing, and then you'll see other bridges that will start to bond.
Yes, even though talking about this subject will open other people's eyes, which is a very, very good thing. Sometimes by doing it in those family settings, either you're wanting to cause an argument or you're wanting to shove it down someone's throat who's not ready for it. But this is a form of evangelizing. This is something very much like the old religions would do, very much like your Christian religion. You would say the Jehovah's Witnesses would do these very things, thinking they're opening people's eyes. And just know that both sides of your political spectrum are saying the exact same thing. Wake up. Know this, if you span the entire breadth of all there is of that, you will notice that both sides are telling each other to wake up. Just remember that, folks. And yes, there is a side slightly with more common sense. I will give all of you this. And there's some that are more filled with idiocracy. I will give you this. But there's that on both sides in their own way, politically. Just know that also when you're in a situation, say at a Thanksgiving dinner or some gathering, why would you want to cause more of the very thing that is being farmed? Unless that is a form of programming that has been struck on yourself that you are now unaware of. Yes, it is important to speak these things around people, and somebody may hear that is meant to. One or two or three in a crowd that then can spread that information. That way, that is not a form of evangelizing, that is more of an evolutionary state, a natural evolutionary process. But there's always going to be some that will turn their back to that information. Again, why would you want to cause that animosity in a situation that it doesn't necessarily need to be, where it's supposed to be unification? There's always going to be people that disagree with you, no matter how far ahead in history you go. There is always going to be that. There's always going to be some remnants of religion that will morph into other things and become something better or different than it was. Again, there will always be disagreements among people. The point is to agree to disagree and become more of a unified force that could work together. This is how you defeat the real enemy that is present.
Exactly. And again, you have to undo some bad habits in order to do it. And isolating yourself and just waiting for everybody to show up who thinks like you, and then you're wondering where everybody is, may not be the best strategy, unless it's meant to be your life of being a hermit. I mean, everyone goes through a life or so of being hermits. So I don't know, but I think you guys on a heartfelt discernment level know exactly what we're talking about. Yes. And then it gets really hard, because then again, you do have to self-reflect a lot. Am I actually involved in this? I always joke that I'm not, I'm always like, I look for every opportunity not to give energy to something. It's like, if I had to say what I'm on higher work for, it's when not to participate.
But also know when to participate and when to fight for something as well. There are some things now that are worth fighting for.
Right.
But if it goes into a violent revolution, you've already lost at that point.
Yes. And so again, I guess we're both really highly encouraging you to build your discernment skills. If you're open to the conversation of what we're saying and you're open to exploration of that, then you have to look at what are my contributings to what I don't want. How do I contribute to what I do not want better? There's no way of getting around the fact that this is going to be self-reflection, and this is going to be changed potentially of some of your behavior, rather than always saying they're the ones out there who have to change. It doesn't work that way in our spiritual growth. We're the ones who individually expand, and grow. So, it's a pill that people don't want to swallow. It certainly goes against the grain of a lot of current teachings, but it is our understanding of truly what is going on out there. And we lay it out for your consideration. Yes. So I'm just going to leave it to you, because we didn't want to go overboard in big general time. So I just am now turning it over to you for you to say whatever it is that you feel has not been spoken about or you want to reiterate on this show.
Yes, this is actually a very interesting subject, whose time has come. This is a very detrimental subject right now, especially to those that don't seem to feel that they are getting the true care that they wish to get, or the true acknowledgement that they wish to get, like with this aftercare nonsense that is taking place. And what you two have been hit with is absolutely 100% the aftercare hamster wheel. You have been experiencing this. As he said, it takes one of you to be able to talk about this, just like somebody who's more knowledgeable in the subject would have to talk about something in order to spread the energy where it needs to go from the solving of a problem. Granted, we are not saying it is only you guys, because there are other targeted individuals out there and other people that are in the hamster wheel completely. There are others, even some that aren't in the programs, that were in the hamster wheel, that are playing the pre-programmed roles. And again, we know that some people have come in to do these very things, very much like your Rittenhouse case, where he came in to bring that to light, as we've said on other recordings. This is also the same with some of these targeted individuals. Some people were needed in that specific lane in order to break the code or crack the code or break the glass ceiling in this area. This is also in some instances why he will not stop wanting to break the glass ceiling, because there's some areas I will not go into that involve that very subject, even in subtle ways that can take place. So with that said, we are acknowledging all of those people that were in these programs, and like the Secret Space Program, My Labs, Monarch, all of these, and also the MK Ultra, all of these things. There's a lot of pre-programmed people out there that were against you in this, to fight against you as part of this hamster wheel, but they're caught in that hamster wheel themselves. We are just putting the acknowledgement out there, because we are not saying your time is coming in that particular respect. We're not going to put you on a pedestal, but just know a time where some of this will open up. You will begin to see this more and more and more, even as some of this glass ceiling is being broken by some of these other people that wish this to stop so heavily. They begin to manifest this. Just know there are other components that can be added into other episodes later as you figure these things out in these stages to break that glass ceiling. So this is where we will depart for this. So thank you all. Yes, this is that's actually very interesting that it's being done in stages. I don't always approve of the slow drip, but this isn't really like the Venusian slow drip. This is, I respect how they do things too, but at the same time, this seems much faster. This seems at a more concurrent pace to what is going on at the moment. They have their lane where they're doing their thing within the academics and religion and all of those fields, applying certain information as you go along. We're doing the same in that respect, but I'm not the most patient creature in the world, so we're speeding things up just a hair. Like something that may take 20 years, I'm going to try to knock it out in 5. So this is, I believe it can be sped up. I always have. And they're basically they're nodding in the background too. They're thinking the same. By doing this, we're speeding that timetable up, and they respect the Venusian slow drip method too, Valiant Tour's slow drip. But at the same time, there are other ways of cutting this pie. So, in my opinion, there are other ways of cutting this pie of information. And as we go along, we'll find out more information on the hamster wheel effect, or this illusion wheel effect, and any of these things that are happening. And as we start to figure this out, then it starts to open up that percentage, say from 50 to 75 to eventually 100. Not sure how long that will take to come across these concepts, but I'm putting it out there that I myself personally wish to see. Let's see these things, not in a lesson sort of way, not where we're getting badgered by it, but see the effects in public, see the effects in daily life of society, on where there are more chinks in this wheel's armor. With that said, we can go on to the last affirmation or blessing here. Last affirmation and blessing, not or. Right. Since she's blind as a bat girl here, I'll have to read this one too. So she doesn't have her Stevie Wonder glasses on this time, or Terminator, whichever you want to call it. Let's see here. To the seemingly broken and fallen, the targeting is not a permanent truth or fact of creation itself. It is but a whisper in the dark night, a voice drowned out, a cry in the face and form of shadow. The hamster wheel is at an end, the cycle is broken. Its wreckage is reflected in the past, in the rear view mirror of a car steadily in its lane. So with that, folks, we wish you all well. We're cutting it off here for this particular episode. We'll try to come up with more episodes on this subject here in the future, because this is part one of about the hamster wheel effect here. So thank you, everybody, for watching this. Bye-bye now.
Hello, we just recorded the show about the hamster wheel. There's one point I wanted to add I completely forgot, and that is about what highest good actually means. Highest good, people associate that with highest vibrations, higher dimensions. No, highest good could mean you go over glass shards instead of rose petals. But at the same time, how many times do you have to accept the glass shards and not the rose petals? You know, you got to specify when you say highest good. What do you mean by that? Highest vibrations, what do you mean? You know, meaning peaceful path, benevolent path, you know, and without interruption or distraction. Or when you say highest good for my highest good, you know, it could be a repeat of all the junk you've gone through on glass shards. Sometimes that's necessary, sometimes it isn't. And anytime, you know, how many times do we have to learn about trauma and pain and suffering anymore as a species and not unify? So don't always delegate it to some higher power, like thy will be done, like what I've been saying before. Delegate it to your own judgment and your own intuition and discernment. What does highest good mean for you? Because if you leave it open, the universe is basically saying, oh, these people have had more, or this person's had suffering, and they need to know more about this. You know about the old New Age manifestation principles, in a way. I say in a way, because some of that's true. Some of it isn't. And some of it's oppression. But I'm just saying, what is highest good to you? And what do you specify that as? So you're not walking over glass shards needlessly, unless it was something needed to get to another thing. Which, come on, you want rose petals, manifest rose petals. And just say you don't want, just basically say, what does highest good mean for you? I wanted to add that because it's been a point of trickery as well, that had another half to the coin that's not been spoken about. So I'll leave that here. It is 4:35 p.m. Sunday, November 28th, 2021. Thank you. I know this recording isn't going to really be too much to do with the hamster wheel. I'm adding this on there, but it's a beautiful example of how being in the moment and what you are co-creating and living and becoming can create a whole world or a character. You heard me talk about in past recordings about when I inadvertently created a lady apparition that was around the house that I ended up going from A to B to C to D and living the part in my imagination. That co-created this lady figure who eventually I had to dismantle because it was haunting the house. And heard me mention this in other recordings. Also, the same was done in the show WandaVision, whereas in her grief, she created and encapsulated a whole town and created another version of Vision. I'm not going to ruin the whole thing for anybody, but the thing I want to add about that, since we mentioned WandaVision, as weird as it was, it made sense. It made sense. It was based on all her past, everything. And it created the town, or created all the versions and layers. And it was layers upon layers in it. There's only 9 episodes of it. Go watch it if you can make it past the 3rd or 4th one. It's weird, very cerebral, but it's based on a true concept that we've spoken about a very potent form of co-creating, where I've said you can create poltergeist things this way, and experiments of that were done as I've said in other videos, where some people created a like a character from A to B to C to D, and it came through on a ghost box. It's the same thing. And then they had to go back and dismantle that character back to nothing. And that's what happens in the show. Uncreates all of it. You have to uncreate. That's where you always see me do the box and doing the circle in sessions around the edge and saying nothing, cube or box, uncreate you. And that's what I do. And it uncreates what's in there. It could be an astral parasite, it could be a demon, it could be anything. But you lock it away and do that. But that's what you have to do with something you create, and you have to basically dismantle it to the beginning. And the lady that was haunting the house was of my creation. So I had to undo it. And it was fairly complex and fairly weird. I've also accidentally opened portals too. I found out with my memory repression tonight, even the time of this recording, or the day of the recording. Whereas I go into these shakes, and then all of a sudden a portal will open. It was something linked to my SSP history. So what comes out of that isn't necessarily something I want to look at. So I have to close the portal to wherever and fix the problem. It's random when it happens. It's weird, but it has to do with that part of my psyche then creating this opening. And we all, and channelers always open portals when they channel or when they communicate. It's a normal, natural thing that conduit opens. But this one is weird. Well, I'll report more when I know. But it goes back to what's caught in the hamster wheel. This does, I guess, apply. Whereas you're caught in this cycle of compression. Whereas there's this old programming or old part of you that compresses, and there's the real you coming out in the DNA, in the mind, in the energy. And what happens is then the result is this weird connection that takes place to whatever the pain is or compression is doing. And that's what that portal was. So, yeah, it all links back into this, I suppose. So, so I think I will end that here. It is 9:24 p.m. Sunday, November 28th, 2021. Thank you.